That's Dewey Freeman. I'm Mark Sylvester. We are the Elder Council. It's Saturday morning. Hey, what do you think about this idea of no daylight or always daylight savings time?
Actually, I would love that.
Okay,
That
well,
would
there
be
you go.
so good for me
Good. I
and
don't
my
need to call
horses.
your
And
senator. So,
yeah. What do you think about it?
um, you know, I don't think we can fuck with time. I don't think it's like time is it, and it's going to be whenever I wake up, the sun's going to be there either up or not up, and that's how it is. But that's an old guy talking. I think the whole thing was artificial in the beginning, and this argument that having it light when the kids are going to school makes sense. Now it'll be dark in the winter. And I don't, it's funny for a guy who is technologically savvy as I am, the whole time space continuum thing continues to kind of fuck with my head sometimes. So I think it's a good thing.
The daylight savings time, you mean?
Yeah.
Someone was asking me about that. Actually, a woman who's a therapist who lives in Beijing, who I supervise, we were talking about the time change, and what's interesting about it all is it is all incredibly artificial.
Exactly.
Because in China, they have either 3 or 4 what we would call time zones.
Sir, they have 11
in China.
Yeah. Someone should fact check me, but it's more than 10.
And well, the interesting part is that they're all on the same time. Whatever time it is in Beijing, which is the center, going either way. So if it's 11 o'clock a.m. in Beijing, on the western part of China, it's 11, and on the eastern part of China, it's 11. So they do not do time zones like we do, or the time changes like we do. So it's completely artificial. So
that, some of this, all this stuff, nothing to do with what I would love to talk about today.
Okay,
but it's maybe it's sideways related to it.
We can wind it in. We
always do.
It's sort of magic that way.
So when I say not my circus, not my monkey, what do you think?
I don't know that I think much with it. I end up just having an inner feeling of going, of some sort of release, of some sort of like, yeah, I don't have to carry everything.
It's a Polish saying. So people that are listening may have heard this before, but it's an old Polish saying, and I learned it from my web developer. When we'll talk about something and we'll get into some kind of external conflict will come up, and you can almost visually see him put his hands up. Not my circus, not my monkey. It's like, that's not my thing. And when I think circus, I think Crazy Town. I think Nightmare Alley, by the way. So you've got Nightmare Alley is a current film that's out, that's in the kind of the sideshows that traveled the United States in the 30s, the 20s and the 30s, and before the war. You'd have the amazing bearded lady and the 300-year-old man and all that kind of stuff. It's a very, very good Guillermo del Toro movie that's up for a few awards. So I think of Not My Circus. It's like but not my monkey. Like that thing that's driving mayhem right now, the monkey. That's not. And when I heard that the first time, I thought, he's purposely not engaging with that problem, which showed a level of discernment that I deeply appreciated, actually. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. I put it on our list of shows of things to talk about, because I think, and this is where I want to go with this, which is, when a thing comes up, you're confronted with a thing, and you make this decision like, hey, like, there's a lot going on here. How do I say, hey, not my circus? So you could, if you emphasize the word my, not my circus, not my circus. You're pushing that, not my problem. That, which is interpreted colloquially as, hey, not my problem.
Right.
But I think it's bigger than that.
Bigger in what way? I get what you're feeling. I can sense that. Put more words to that part.
Yeah, until I heard that, I took everything as my problem. There you go.
There you go.
See, I'm a problem solver, have been my whole life. It's like that. A buddy of mine said once, he says, you like it when someone puts a problem on your desk, you can stab it with a fork and say, yes, sir, I'll have another.
Well, too much of a visual there, Mark.
Yeah, on purpose.
On purpose. So here's what comes to mind for me with that saying is, how many people bring you a problem that's really theirs and want to make it yours? And also, how many times do we walk around and something just happened?
Keep going.
Do we walk around and we go, oh, I'm heading to go do blank, or I'm involved in XYZ, and we get distracted, we get pulled in this direction, we get pulled in that direction, and we get drugged down, and it's like, how many times do we actually jump into places that we really don't belong, that creates a circus inside us?
I'm reminded of another saying. Have you ever heard, I don't know what this saying is, but it's like, you, to your point of walking into a situation, and let's say it's a tent, and I opened the tent and I went, oh shit.
Yes.
Whoa. And so you can either go back off, or these are my people, or this looks interesting, and you step in. So now we're colliding metaphors now, or analogies. But it's that kind of thing. Do you open it up and go, I'm jumping in, good or bad, right? Someone said, hey, go look in that tent over there, and you open it up and there's all the problems in your life. Oh shit, I'm going to close it up. When you caught me on a little side trip and you said, oh, something just happened. When I was 19, I was identified as a potential management candidate. And I got sent to take a class down in Los Angeles by this very noted management guru, and named William Onken, Oncken. You can look him up, because he actually, I did look him up. He's didn't know who he was. I'm 19. What did I know? But he taught something at the time which was really interesting that I see a parallel right now. And you've heard the term, you have a monkey on your back. So let's see if we can wrap all of these things together, because I think they're all related. He said that monkey on your back is that thing that someone else gave you, and they
Yes.
put a monkey on your back. So bringing it home to what you just said.
Mhm.
So what he said is your job is to make sure no one gives you a monkey.
Yeah, along that line, a couple of things. One, the image I had when you were talking about opening the tent and either deciding to go in or closing it and deciding not to go in, the image I had was you open the tent and you're just about ready to go, not my circus, not my monkey, and then you feel a foot in the middle of your back that shoves you in. And it's like, what the fuck am I doing here? And one of the causes, and I bear with me a second here, one of the causes of disturbance in relationships, and I mean, sometimes disturbances in relationships can be positive. You change something to grow. Or we can have disturbances that really are detrimental to a relationship. And one of the causes is carrying around, and if we're using this metaphor, carrying around somebody else's monkey. And having to deal with the disturbance of that while I'm trying to still have a relationship, for instance, with you. And the ultimate way, and it's really interesting what you were talking about a few minutes ago with your friend who would just say, not my circus, not my monkey, is whoever that person is, they know how to say no.
That's exactly.
And one of the things that, I mean, one of my questions is to all the people who are listening to this is, do you know how to say no? Do you know how to say, I don't have the time right now. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I can't do A, B, and C. Or even more, sometimes more importantly, I don't even want to go to that circus.
So before you can say no, you have to identify there's an incoming monkey.
Yes.
And that's what he taught us how to do. How to identify this thing that someone has brought to you as, oh, that looks like a monkey. and he said, he said, look at, mentally look around on your desk, and you have piles of monkeys on your desk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's other people, it's someone else's shit that you have to deal with now, and that's a monkey. He said, so what you do? You open up your drawer and you put all the monkeys in the drawer and you close the drawer. Now, most of the monkeys are going to die because you didn't feed them. Unless you open the drawer and one of them turned into a gorilla.
Mm.
That is that was 40 years ago. That was longer. Yeah, that was 40. Yeah, that was 40 years ago. And it's still as vivid to me to this day. And 20 years after that, I got in my software company. I made a rubber stamp. I had a rubber stamp made with a monkey with a circle with a slash through it. And something would get on my desk back in the days with paper, and I'd go, as a monkey, and not my monkey. I didn't know that saying then. If I had known it, everybody in my universe would have heard me say it. And I just stamp it with the no monkey, and I put it back. What do you mean? No, I'm not taking your monkey. You can't take that thing off your back and put it on. That visual is very strong, right? I've got this thing. And monkeys, I mean, think about monkeys. Monkeys are, everything's moving all the time, and they take all of your bandwidth to deal with them. So this identifying, that's not my monkey, that's your monkey, so that you can just have that decision. You have to identify it. Incoming duck, that's your thing.
How would you suggest, and how do you determine that you don't want to take that on? Because many of us have gotten messages, and I think especially as men, it's like, you don't say no to anything.
That's the problem.
Right. But how do you determine not to take it on?
We're back to intentionality. We're back to understanding your own capacity, your own ability. I was reminded of a saying of Socrates this week: the unexamined life is not worth living.
Right.
And so when you think about what, I was a guy who said yes all the time. As I said earlier, it's like, oh, well, yes, because I know I can solve the problem.
Yes.
Or if like, that's a tasty little problem. Ooh, what can I do with, I don't know how to solve it, which makes it more interesting. But I know I have tools. I have problem solving tools. So we'll figure out how to get this fucker done. We'll do that. And then pour all your mental energy in it, to the exclusion of all the other things, that the yeses in your life, all the other stuff. And I think it's only, gosh, literally in the last 4 or 5 months, I've learned how to say no. So I didn't say no. And from my health reasons, you got to declutter your life. De-stress was what they said, but you have to, declutter, and you can't do everything. And to your point, we've talked about age. I self-identify as a 24 to 26-year-old. So I don't know that I can't do everything. But guess what? Like you said, the doctor said, how old's your knee?
Right.
Right. How's your body? So it's with a bit of self-preservation, but more energetically saying no to stuff. It's a lifelong battle for me, which is why I thought it would be a good topic to talk about.
Well, it is. And now my brain is like exploding. At the beginning of the talk, I was.
For those of you who've been keeping track, that takes about 27 minutes into the show, and we're right on time.
Work just like clockwork.
Yep.
One is, like, numbers of things come. A person cannot really say yes to something unless they can say no.
Oh.
So,
okay. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You can get a t-shirt at the door.
Yeah, let's let that sink in, because if everything that comes in, you go pile it on, pile it on, pile it on, pile it on, you're not you're not saying yes. You're
You're
just being
just
taken
not
advantage.
saying no.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get into like triple double negatives there.
Yes.
You're not saying yes to not say no, blah, blah, all that stuff. So that's one piece is to really be aware, unless you can actually really say no, you can't really say yes. And that goes for every level, whether it's work, whether it's
Wow.
hanging out with somebody, whether it's relationally, whether it's sexually with somebody, all of those.
So say that again. I want to make sure I have that right, because this is one you want to stop the show and write it down.
You can, any person cannot really say yes to anything unless they know that they can say no.
Got it.
So if that is the same, if a client, if I have somebody that goes, I really want to work with you, and it's like my schedule is full, but I say yes, or I don't say anything. It's like sure, I'll schedule with you. And then by the time I do that 6 times, my entire week is gone. Same way with in every relationship. Same way with work stuff. The same way with holding integrity for yourself. If you cannot say no to something, you can't really say yes to it. The other piece that comes to mind for me is the concept of responsibility. And part of when you were talking about finding that one thing in there where it's like, ooh, that's pretty exciting. That would be really interesting. One of the things that happens when we do things well is we become competent. Mm-hmm. Or we do things well because we are competent. And then we on some levels have, because of the competency, we have an ability to respond. So responsibility in my world, I break it down into it's like response ability. So the ability to respond. And there are some things that we don't have the ability to respond. When we really say, no, my circus, not my monkey, it's like we're
like electrical problems around the house.
Right. Like exactly. Like I can build anything. I mean, just because of my life, I can build anything. I can plumb stuff. I can do all kinds of stuff. The 2 things I don't do is electrical and gas, like gas lines. Not because I probably couldn't figure it out, but because I'm not high enough level. It's like I could screw something up and burn my house down in the middle of the night. I think I'll try to avoid that. But the ability to respond, there are some things where we just don't have the ability to respond to. And that may be competency, that may be time.
Which makes me think of, if I'm consciously incompetent, go back to whatever show that was we did about that, because that seems to be a consistent theme. If I'm I'm conscious of my incompetence, then I know I can stay away from that. Right, to your point. Right, I know. Correct. I don't have the tools. In your case, if someone comes in with a relationship problem, or that's much broader than that, your skill set, yes, I can solve that. So it gets to your point of, do I have the time to do that? Right. And we're both at I think what's happened with us as elders is we have more yesterdays than we have tomorrows.
That is accurate. And a part of it has to do, the ability to respond is, you're right, is based on competency on one level. It's also based on choice and time. And when you say we have more yesterdays than tomorrow, it's like, is this something I want to spend my time on?
Right.
And
To the exclusion of something else.
right. And there might be things that we choose that we're interested in that we go, oh, that could be really fun. I mean, the other day I was down at a ranch working, and someone asked me about this particular horse, and I've known this horse, at least some, and it was like, that would be really interesting. So I chose to spend some time, where other times it's like people go, can I come up and ride? And it's like, no. And so
here's the question, Doc.
go for it, sir.
When, and this is the struggle for me, is the blowback of the no decision.
Blowback in, talk a little bit more.
Perceived disappointment, perceived rejection, perceived negative response, perceived, well, I can't say no because they're gonna, okay, I'll just do it, because I don't want to deal with the blowback on that, right? That's my, it says, oh, come on, I'm not going to be there that long. I just wanted to take Moon around a couple laps around the
arena.
Yes, thank you. I don't know that I
no, you're on the right track. Well, first of all, a lot of the work with that has to do with how you say it.
Understood.
And one of the big pieces in Santa Barbara a couple, 3 weeks ago was the word and. And it's like yes and, or no and, or thank you and, instead of using the word but. So what's even interesting, this is like too much fun. We could go, it's not my circus, but it's not my monkey. Or we could go, it's not my circus and it's not my monkey.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between those?
Oh, huge difference.
Right. One is that we're still not saying no. And one is that we're saying no with kindness. So the saying no piece is part, you brought up the idea of rejection, or people being bummed out or people pushing back. It's literally when we can give the message, I love and care about you, and no, we're not going to do that. Or, and no, I don't have time for that. Or, and no, I won't do that, won't bring that in. And what's interesting to me, and you are reading my mind, is that when you said, well, what about if someone wants to take Moon around that arena a couple of times? Literally 2 days ago, somebody wanted to do that. This is a true story, and really good guy, knows very little about horses. And I mean, Moon is a racehorse.
Oh.
Moon's it's either great or great grandfather. It was one of the top racehorses ever.
Wow.
If anyone wants to look it up, look up Dash for Cash. Dash for Cash is his great grandfather. And that's why his name is Dash, and we changed his name to Moon Dash. So that's his lineage. And he's incredibly kind, incredibly gentle, and incredibly fast. And so it was like my responsibility, what the person wanted me to respond with was, sure, no problem. My real responsibility was saying, no, that will not be good for you or my horse. And so it's like, because it would have turned into a circus. It
Mhm.
would have turned
Mhm.
into, oh my God, what do I have to deal with now? Um, and it's the process of not giving up who you are in all interactions. The other part that's interesting to me is it's like actually okay to allow other people to be disappointed.
So there's the nub of it right there that's been going through my mind, and that, ladies and gentlemen, you can still learn lessons at 68 years old. And the whole purpose of this show is for us to go back in time and talk to 28, 38, 48-year olds and say, you
Exactly.
get these lessons so that it's okay. So you can get, at least get that one out of the way. And I'm going to, so when you said, and that comes from a core foundational training we have around using improv tools in other domains, saying yes, and I'm going to say yes to the thing the person said, and I'm going to add something back, and then you're going to yes that and add something back, and we have
Right.
this back and forth, and in life that's just a great tool. The next thing you learn, young Padawan, is the word because.
Yep.
Yes, and because. And so when we teach, we just teach yes and, but once you get good at that, it's yes and because. So now I'm going to help add the context. So to your point, having a loving because helps soften the no, or explains the no in a way that is heartful. I don't even know if that's a word, but
That's,
it's
if it isn't, it is now, and a very good one.
um to, and I think that that's another thing that comes with age, is we learn how to be empathetic, right? I understand this person, maybe he was afraid to even ask. I'm going to ask Dewey Freeman if I can go right, but I don't know, what's he going to say, I don't know, his little voice in his head. And we go and ask for something, and we hope we can get it, and we don't. And but he managed our disappointment in such
Right.
a loving way that I understood that was all my shit I was putting on him. And then he could have just, well, okay, yeah, I was gonna do this other thing. So I think I got all that. I think I connected all those dots.
You did very well.
The Where I'm at personally for myself is what I'll call as protecting white space. So when you say I want to, it's around time, for me, it's protecting white space. I don't want to do that thing because for me, white space is literally in my calendar. There's a big space where there's nothing in it.
Got it. It's
That's
like,
white space.
got it.
And I'm at a point in life why I want nothing. I want nothing planned. Doesn't mean I won't fill it. I will, at the end of the day, have had a very full day. But I
Absolutely.
want to, you've heard me say this before, I want to control my inbox. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. I want to control the time, only so I can have the white space to let things happen. Maybe that's super convoluted. And it feels, I think where I'm having the challenge is to not feel selfish. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
So if you create time for yourself
And
to
protect it,
allow
and protect it.
and protect it, that feels, at times that could feel selfish. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So let's do a hypothetical. Um, I do not have 2 or 3 kids of an age that need their daddy all the time. They
Mm-hmm.
need dad time. I have 2 cats who need playtime, but I don't have that. I don't have a wife who needs a lot of my time. I don't have a boss or employees. I'm in a very unique, and I understand,
Mhm.
situation. So I don't have a lot of demands on my time in that way that I can't control. So I'm thinking of the guy who's the man who's listening to this right now going, fuck, I got customers, I got my wife, I've got, and I'm saying it in a tone of voice, which is not right. Um, and the kids need everybody needs me. I need me. I need me. Do I get a vote in the who needs me
Well,
discussion?
absolutely.
And so I say, you know what? I need a little me time. I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to go putter. I'm going to go work on my hobby. I'm going to go do something for me. Even if it's just get outside and take a walk, clear my head, I'm going to do that. But, and feel comfortable enough to where I can defend that choice. Right. So for me, it's like, I just want to sit on the couch. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit on the couch and just chill. And I have a very busy wife, and I'm like, she'll come in and what are you doing? I said, I'm being an elder.
And her response is,
Good
is
for you.
I know Kim's
Good
right.
for you. You made a choice to take care of yours. And I'm in a super unique situation. You made the choice to take care of yourself, and you knew you needed to give yourself a timeout, just take a little break. And that's fine. But there's so many gears going on with that shit that, and I'm being very transparent now, right? To say, hey, is it okay to do that? And I've come to terms with that. But good God, I'm thinking of my son who busy, thinking of the men in the nation who are busy. So how do they say no so that they can say yes to themselves, just to give themselves a little break?
One unbelievably great question. And I have been one of those men who would not say no, to the point where there were times I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and caring for horses. And yeah, exactly. And we get a lot of kudos for that. We get a lot of goodies. And one of the marks of I'm not quite sure what the term I'm looking for is. It's like floating right here. But many times I will check in with somebody and say, hey, how are you? Oh God, I'm so tired. I'm so busy. It's like I never and it's like it's almost a red badge of courage kind of thing.
100%.
And our bodies need time to reset.
Yep.
And sometimes it's 20 minutes. Sometimes it's, I mean, I know you all enough to know that sitting on the couch for 20 minutes is probably a fairly long time for you. But part of what we're talking about here is a level of resiliency. And our bodies need to stop to recharge. And I run into this all the time with people. It's like, well, it's like my clients are.
Excuse me. Here's what they say. Yes, but.
Yes. It's, yeah, but I need to get this
Yeah.
done.
There's that
Right.
ugly word, but.
Yeah, that's right. And bottom line is if we have 12 things to do in a day and we think we don't have time to take a break to get those 12 things done, here's what I will guarantee. If we take a break, we'll get those 12 things done much quicker. If we're rested, if we allow our bodies to settle, the quality of what we do will be better. And what we don't think is, we don't believe there's any reward in taking a break. And it's actually the opposite.
And therein is the crux of what this show is all about, is to hear that from a couple of old guys who are still dealing with this in real time. You and I both are dealing with this, and this is a lifelong struggle. And I'm reminded of the joke about the two bulls that are on top of the hill and they see all the cows down the pasture, and the young one says, let's run down there and get us one of them good looking. And he goes, and the old guy says, let's walk down and get all of them.
I think that's the end of our show today.